My name is Deepu George, and I want to contextualize my reflections from the perspective of the community that I have learned to love and to live in for the past 6 years. I'm an immigrant from India who was settled in the Rio Grande Valley. The RGV is a binational community located in Texas along the southernmost tip of the US-Mexico border. I live in Edinburgh, where University of Texas Rio Grande Valley School of Medicine is located, and we are nested in Hidalgo County, one of the epicenters of devastation from COVID-19. While the RGV is home to the iconic South Padre Island and signs of affluence, some characteristics made our community vulnerable to the nightmare effects of COVID-19. The RGV is a majority Hispanic community, 92% across 4 counties, 97% in Hidalgo County alone. 1 in 4 do not have access to health insurance, as compared to 1 in 10 in the US. 1 in 3 live in poverty. The sense of poverty is extended further in the RGV colonias. Historically, Mexican farm workers who couldn't find affordable housing were sold illegally subdivided agriculturally unsuitable lands by greedy developers. According to the Texas Housing Authority, an estimated 150,000 live in colonias just in Hidalgo County, more than 10% of our population. This is just an estimate. For these forgotten Americans, being counted accurately and access to health is often underwritten with fear of deportation. RGV laborers, another vulnerable group, the ever-present invisible labor force, essential workers who do not have the luxury of working from home. They're often yard workers, housekeepers, food vendors. Many of them are non-citizens who are working for cash under the table. They are the invisible labor class that tie this community together. Their hands outwork most of us. They are uncounted and underpaid, or in the words of Latina rapper Snow the Product, there ain't a paper trail when you live in the shadows. We are America's ghostwriters, the credit's only borrowed. It's only a matter of time before the checks all come. But immigrants, we get the job done. A peculiar strength of our community is the close family and social bonds. At other times, a protective factor made us more vulnerable to the spread of the virus. This emotional sentiment translates to 1 additional person in each home. All of this combined with diabetes, obesity, and countercultural guidelines of social distancing, landfall of COVID-19 was a nightmare. Beginning with Memorial Day, we saw the rise with devastating spikes after July 4th, and soon came the death spikes. Personally, I only caught up with the emotional impact of all of this only a few weeks ago. I lost a dear friend in India who went to college with me. Half of my team lost immediate family members to COVID-19, some within a span of few days. All of this was happening in the midst of America's ongoing reckoning with its original sin of white supremacy and its systemic historic failures to ensure equity for Black lives. While the RGV is more conditioned to effects of racist policy towards immigrants, in my conversations, the community is waking up to stronger bonds to safeguard Black dignity. At the heart of failed social policies in COVID-19 and repeated failure to deliver justice for Black lives and immigrants is the issue of dignity. The right to exist without explanation, that just being here alive is enough. Activist Sean King often says, our justice system is not broken, it is designed to work exactly the way it is, which disproportionately incarcerate and snuff out Black immigrant and minority lives, a mechanism where a 12-year-old Black child is shot because he is a threat, but white perpetrators of hate crimes and militias are escorted peacefully. So in my one-shot healthcare policy idea, I want to propose a path to reimagining law enforcement with insights, policies, and practices we know about integrated care. An integrated team member, like a behavioral health consultant, provides contextual insights and interventions for the patient and rewires the system with skills for the team to better handle complexity safely and competently. This idea comes from 2 other insights. While law enforcement responds to issues of crime, order, and delinquency, which are code words in itself with racial bias, we have divorced crime and delinquency from healthcare delivery. They should be addressed from a healthcare lens. Second, a major part of U.S. military efforts overseas include community building. Law enforcement can embolden, serve, and protect by focusing on asset-based community development. Imagine units of law enforcement equipped with the equivalent of a BHC, a caseworker, and these teams attached to a mid-level healthcare provider. A public health expert is a key member of this task force, providing actionable insights to address social determinants of health. Presently, the law enforcement systems have asymmetrical power, and a web of alliances mitigate effects of such power, in this case, attaching law enforcement to integrated care teams. There will be resistance and challenges, just like integrated care. However, the more interwoven we are, the more diverse our responses can be. To address ill effects of asymmetrical power such as racial bias and police brutality, we must rewire the system for the persons in it, or change their context. Presence of an integrated team will serve to perturb the homeostasis, allowing for better context for response and awareness. Integrated care design law enforcement, therefore, is a systemic intervention that changes the context in which law enforcement is delivered. Now, this is not a totally new idea. Colorado, as usual, is ahead of the curve. We need to advance this as a healthcare policy issue. So CFHA, I hope each of you will reflect on your own privileged dignities in different ways and begin to act outside of our boxes to safeguard radical Black dignity and immigrant dignity. And to sum it all up in the words of author and activist Sonia Renee Taylor, we will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal, other than we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. We are being given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. Thank you. May you be blessed and emboldened to continue your work in safeguarding each other.